It's Friday, October 23rd, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and we're following a breaking news story that's happening in Fairfield right now, where all the schools are currently in lockdown following a threat that was made. According to our editorial director, John Kovac, who's on the scene, despite being told by police and school officials to not come to Fairfield schools, there are hundreds of cars lining the streets around Fairfield Ward High School. This morning, police have blocked the entrances to the high school, and parents have gathered in groups around the perimeter of the campus. As we said, HAN Network's John Kovac on the scene described a chaotic scene around Ward. He said there are more than 100 cars lining the streets and some parked on the front lawns of nearby homes. At least one Fairfield police officer appeared heavily armed at one entrance to Ward, and all the town schools are currently in lockdown. According to the Fairfield Public Schools, all the schools are in lockdown. There is a police presence at every school. The police have been unable to confirm that there is a threat at this time, but they are taking the threat made very seriously. The Fairfield Citizen reports that First Student Transportation had been notified to be ready to evacuate students from the schools, and police have called in evening shift officers. Town police notified state police and Bridgeport and Fairfield departments of the situation. At the same time, police had secured an area on Black Rock Turnpike, where an anonymous caller around 9 this morning said he has a pipe bomb and a shotgun and is holding hostages. The unidentified male caller also said that he has already killed his girlfriend and is prepared to kill himself. The address the caller gave, 285 Black Rock Turnpike, does not exist, however. The location is near the Edge Fitness Center and Super Duper Weenie, and police have begun canvassing the area, going door to door. They said nothing appeared to be out of order. And as we said, we have someone on the scene right now, and we're going to be following that story as more comes out about it. But moving on to some other news today, a 41-year-old Milford woman has been identified as the person fatally struck by an Amtrak train Tuesday at the Southport Railroad Station. Jennifer Batista was identified Thursday afternoon as the victim in the continuing investigation into the incident by Metropolitan Transportation Authority police, and that is according to Aaron Donovan, an MTA spokesman. Although circumstances of the woman's death remain officially undetermined by the investigation at this time, the reason that she was on the tracks does not appear to be either accidental or criminal. Batista was on the eastbound tracks at the station without authorization. She was hit around 2 in the afternoon Tuesday by the train while she was on the tracks just before the depot's eastbound passenger platform. About 200 passengers were on the northbound train, which began its run around 6 in the morning in Virginia and was headed to Boston. Those passengers were transported to another Amtrak train that arrived later in the afternoon. Batista's death is the latest in a series of fatalities and a series of deaths on railroad tracks throughout the region over the last several months. Well, according to AAA, mental distractions caused by using in-car voice-activated technologies can last up to 27 seconds after making a call, selecting music, or sending a text, and that's according to AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety. The research raises new and unexpected concerns regarding the hands-free use of phones and voice-activated vehicle information systems while driving. It also indicates that motorists can miss stop signs, pedestrians, and other vehicles while the mind readjusts to the task of driving. The researchers rated mental distraction on a 5-point scale. Category 1 represents a mild level of distraction, and Category 5 represents the maximum. AAA considered a mental distraction rating of 2 and higher to be dangerous while driving. The best performing systems in cars that are hands-free was the Chevy Equinox with a cognitive distraction rating of 2.4, while the worst performing system was in the Mazda 6 with a cognitive distraction rating of 4.6. Among phone systems, Google Now performed best with a distraction rating of 3, while Apple Siri and Microsoft Cortana earned ratings of 3.4 and 3.8 respectively. Using the phones to send text significantly increased the level of mental distraction, while sending voice-activated text, Google Now rated as a Category 3.3 distraction, while Apple Siri and Microsoft Cortana rated as a 3.7 and a 4.1. Well, in Milford, police have charged a New Haven woman with larceny after allegedly assaulting a police officer October 21st at around 8:30 at night following a shoplifting incident at Macy's. According to a police report, Dominique Aiken, 19 years old of New Haven, stole about $275 worth of merchandise from the store. When police tried to arrest her, Aiken became defiant and struggled with the officers, police said, and during that struggle, she allegedly kicked one of the officers, and when she was finally handcuffed, she spit on another officer. She was charged with larceny in the 6th degree, interfering with a police officer, and assault on a police officer. She is scheduled to appear in court November 17th. Well, the owner of Darien Lampier Day Spa pled guilty to filing false tax returns Thursday. 75-year-old Nusrat Rizvi of Norwalk waived his right to indictment and pleaded guilty Thursday before U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Meyer in New Haven to one count of filing a false tax return. Deirdre M. Daly, United States Attorney for the District of Connecticut, and William P. Offord, Special Agent in charge of the IRS criminal investigations in New England, said according to court documents and statements made in court, from 2008 to 2010, Rizvi failed to report to the Internal Revenue Service approximately $144,000 in income from Lampier Day Spa, a spa operated with his wife in Darien. In pleading guilty, Rizvi admitted that he took a portion of the cash received by the business, deposited the cash into his personal bank accounts, and failed to report the income to his tax return preparer through 2008 through 2010. Judge Meyer scheduled sentencing for January 14, 2016, at which time Rizvi faces a maximum term of imprisonment of 3 years and a fine of up to $250,000. Well, AJ Simonowski is joining us today to give us a look at today's weather. It looks beautiful so far, AJ.
Thanks, Kate. It is absolutely beautiful just outside our offices here on Bridgeport Avenue. I'm over at the brand new weather desk today, breaking it in for the first time. Let's see how everything goes. Today, sunny and clear, high of 57, but it's going to get cold tonight, low of 34 degrees, currently 53 here in Shelton. Tomorrow, Saturday night into the early morning, there is chance of patchy frost. No, I did not misspeak. Frost possible tomorrow morning. Otherwise, increasing clouds with a high near 55. Wind chills, unfortunately, the National Weather Service has started to report wind chills on their website, could be anywhere between 30 and 40 degrees in the morning. Winds will be variable between 5 and 8 miles per hour. Winds today, however, between 15 and gusting up to 24 miles per hour, so bundle up. It'll be a little bit colder outside than you think it is. Also from the National Weather Service today, there is actually a red flag condition warning, which means chance of wildfires. If you're outside enjoying a fire pit this evening or any kind of other bonfires or weather, cold weather activities, just be careful. Conditions are favorable for that to get out of control. Kate, back over to you.
All right, thanks so much, AJ. Well, we're going to take a break and we're going to continue to follow the situation in Fairfield with the school lockdown. Of course, Donald Ang will be joining us to give us a look back on this day in history. AJ will have local sports and a lot more coming up on your coffee break after this.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
Darien Sport Shop is a unique store because it's a family store. A busy mom can come in with kids in tow and find everything she needs for them, and even find a dress for herself for Saturday night. And if she's in a rush, she can simply go home and order it from us that night. We'll deliver it the next day. The Darien Sport Shop. We're pretty on the outside and amazing on the inside. Conveniently located with free and easy parking at 1127 Post Road, Darien, Connecticut. Or shop us online at dariensport.com.
Football University, the nation's leading football training experience, is now accepting applications for its 2015 camps. Our elite faculty of NFL coaches and top professionals teach position-specific on the field and in the classroom to improve your football IQ and help you reach your full potential as a player. Apply today at footballuniversity.org. Football University, where technique plus talent beats talent alone.
The fall bite is heating up, Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait in the Long Island Sound. This is the time to visit the New England coast, and the Dock Shop can get you outfitted with the latest fishing gear, jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece. Boater, beach bum, fishermen simply love the New England coast. This is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
You are watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. 102,000 viewers have enjoyed the HAN Network in just the last 6 weeks. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
And we're back on this Friday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, still following this breaking news in Fairfield. All the schools there are currently in lockdown due to a threat that was made. However, police are holding a press briefing at 11:15 today, and our editorial director, John Kovach, will be there and give us the latest from that. But now it's time to throw it over to Donald Ang for a look back on this day in history. Don?
Well, Kate, we can trace the beginning of the end of social interaction and conversation to this day. But first, 1861, President Abraham Lincoln suspends the writ of habeas corpus in Washington for all military-related cases. It was intended as a crackdown on anti-war protesters. It essentially allowed the government to hold people in military prisons indefinitely for the duration of the war. 1944, World War II, the Battle of Leyte Gulf. The largest naval battle in history begins in the Philippines. Over 4 days of fighting, the Allies essentially destroyed the Imperial Japanese Navy. More than 400 ships and 100,000 men participated. 1958, Russian poet and novelist Boris Pasternak awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature, but under heavy pressure from the Soviet government, he refuses the honor. Pasternak had won the award for his writing of the book Dr. Zhivago. 1970, at the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, Gary Gabelich sets the land speed record in a rocket-powered car called the Blue Flame. It was fueled with natural gas and sponsored by the American Gas Association. It was the culmination of a 5-year effort by 3 men in their 20s with no money who set out to drive a car 630 miles an hour over loose ground. And finally, in 2001, there was this.
The field that we decided to do it in, the choice we made was music. Now, why music? Well, we love music, and it's always good to do something you love. More importantly, music's a part of everyone's life. Everyone. Music's been around forever. It will always be around. This is not a speculative market. And because it's a part of everyone's life, it's a very large target market all around the world. It knows no boundaries. But interestingly enough,
that was Apple CEO Steve Jobs announcing the portable digital music player called the iPod, a phenomenon in 2001. You know, the only thing that would make an iPod better is if you could surf the internet and make phone calls on it. Well, maybe someday. With your look back in history, I'm Donald Ng.
Nice. Thanks, Don. I still remember my green iPod. I loved it.
Those halcyon days of 2001.
All right. Well, before we bring in AJ with the latest on high school sports, getting back to a little more news today. 20 parents and concerned citizens spoke during the New Canaan Town Council's public hearing Wednesday night and told the council to vote in favor of the Saks expansion and renovation project that is being proposed by the Saks Building Committee and the Board of Education. There were over 100 adults and children in the room to show support for the project. The new town hall meeting room was at or possibly over capacity as children were outside the room in the hallway as the public hearing was held. The only speaker who was not in favor of the Saks project was petitioning candidate for First Selectman Michael Nowacki. He said that trying to bond the project now, after the audit committee cited deficient financial controls in town, would be wrong. Reasons to vote in favor of the Saks project mentioned by speakers included that the current enrollment has the school overcrowded and portable classrooms would not be secure. Also, many talked about now children are being taught in alcoves and families moving here for the quality of the schools, and they want to maintain that. But there's a lot more on that story at ncadvertiser.com. Going to throw it over to AJ now for the latest in sports. AJ?
As a graduate of Saks Middle School myself, some of those alcoves are pretty cozy. I don't know what everybody's complaining about, but thank you, Kate. Good morning again, everybody. I'll get you caught up on yesterday's sports. Short schedule then, but we got a lot coming up today and tomorrow, so there's plenty to talk about. We'll start with some girls soccer. Ward topped Norwalk yesterday 6-0. New Canaan over Danbury 2-0. Ludlow topped Stamford 3-1. Staples demolished Trinity 7-0. Ridgefield topped Trumbull 3-0, and Wilton over West Hill 3-2. A couple of field hockey games for you. Wilton over McMahon 6-0, and Danbury beat St. Joe's 5-0. Couple of notes on yesterday's action. We had a few scores that were not yet available by the time we had to come on air here this morning. Greenwich headed to Stamford to take them on in field hockey yesterday, and St. Joe's traveled to Wilton for a girls swimming and diving meet. If you want to check up on those scores, stay tuned to FCAC.net and, of course, the HAN Network. We'll get them for you as soon as you can. Busy day today. We'll start on the soccer pitch. One boys game as Stamford heads to Staples. They kick off at 4 p.m. One girls game as well. Darien heads to Greenwich. First kick is at 6. To field hockey, Ridgefield takes on West Hill this afternoon at 3:30. Ludlow heads to Staples. Darien takes on Trumbull, and Norwalk takes on Fairfield Ward. A lot of volleyball to get going with. Norwalk at West Hill. Danbury takes on Ridgefield. Greenwich heads up to Fairfield Ludlow. Trumbull heads to Brian McMahon High School. Bridgeport Central heads to New Canaan to take on the Rams. Wilton takes on Staples. Fairfield Ward takes on St. Joe's, and Trinity Catholic heads to Darien. Late start for that one, 7 p.m. A couple of swimming and diving meets. Fairfield Ward heads to Ridgefield, and Norwalk McMahon take on Staples. And of course, football. Friday Night Lights. We had a couple of games tonight and a couple of games tomorrow. Tonight's games. Trumbull heads to Bridgeport Central, the Eagles, and the Hilltoppers. Wilton takes on Stamford at 6:30. West Hill plays Norwalk, and Ridgefield takes on Staples. Those latter games both 7 o'clock kickoffs. Tomorrow, Fairfield Ludlow heads to Trinity. The Falcons take on the Crusaders there in Stamford. Danbury takes on Darien. I did not choke over that one. I was convinced I was going to. Fairfield Ward heads to St. Joe's, and of course, it is finally time for the Marinelli Bowl. The New Canaan Rams head to Greenwich to take on John Marinelli's Greenwich Cardinals. We will have that game here on the HAN Network. Your FCAC tailgate gets started at noon with Kate Czaplinski, maybe Donald Eng. We don't know if we're going to drag him down for that yet. FCAC Game Day follows them at 1. We'll take a break, get everything reset. First kick at 3 o'clock. Rob Adams and Chris Cato Kalin have the call on that. With sports, I'm AJ Simonowski. Kate, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, AJ. Well, getting back to this unfolding situation in Fairfield with the school lockdown, according to the Mirror, which is Fairfield University's student newspaper, the University Department of Safety sent out the following message. They just said there have been no incidents reported in the town of Fairfield and no additional threats have been received. Fairfield Public Schools, as a precaution, will be closing early today. We're hearing that they're closing on a half-day schedule today. Fairfield University is currently serving as a gathering place for parents from the community. They said they anticipate that to be a temporary situation. Parents who are currently on campus will be receiving instruction shortly to return home to receive their children following the early dismissal. All university entrances will be open shortly, according to public safety officers. So that's the latest on that situation. As we said, we'll bring you more updates as those become available. Getting back to some other news today, the accused burglar who escaped police custody on the way to court Wednesday has been recaptured. That, according to Police Chief Joseph Gaudet. 29-year-old Nelson Vega escaped Wednesday morning while on the way to a van that would take him and other prisoners to the courthouse. Police Chief Gaudet said Vega is back in custody and that Gaudet would provide more details at a media briefing this morning. Sources told the Connecticut Post that Vega had complained his handcuffs were too tight, and the civilian jailer loosened Vega's handcuffs and then went to open the back door of the van. There was no jailer standing at the rear of the line of the prisoners, and with the jailer distracted, Vega slipped away and was not missed until the prisoners arrived at the courthouse on Golden Hill Street. And they were being checked in. He is suspected leader of a Stratford burglary ring. Well, Milford officials said more seniors are signing up at the local food bank and pantry, and the shelves are almost bare. Milford Mayor Ben Blake issued a press release Thursday calling on city employees and residents to drop off items at the Milford Senior Center and the Bethel Center between 9 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon on weekdays. There's also a drop spot for city employees in the Community Development Department and elsewhere. Blake said he hopes people will deliver as many items as possible to the shelter by Friday, October 30th, and he plans to do the same. Milford Senior Center Food Bank Manager Sharon Brown speculates that seniors are choosing between buying medicine and buying food, or paying their bills and buying food. The Senior Center is requesting all non-perishable items, but more specifically, there is an immediate need for pasta and soup. The Beth L. Center is in need of the following kitchen items, including paper towels, toilet paper, facial tissues, bowls, paper placemats, paper napkins, food storage bags, and aluminum foil. As far as food items go, the Beth L. Center is asking for cereal, pasta, crackers, powdered drink mixes, and a lot more. You can get the full list at milfordmirror.com. Well, we're going to take a quick break, come back with some more news, and Donald Engel will be joining us later to take a look at the top stories this week. That's coming up on your coffee break after this.
In Pound Ridge since 1993, the Wine Connection is one of America's best wine shops. Visit our beautiful store for the greatest in wine and knowledgeable service. With wonderful values from around the world to collectibles for your cellar, we are your one-stop source. Visit our online shop at wineconn.com and make sure to sign up for email updates. With great offers, new arrivals, and special events, don't miss all the action at the Wine Connection, including tastings every weekend. The Wine Connection, located at 32 Westchester Avenue, Pound Ridge, New York.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances. Where community comes first. A place where there's more than one kind of interest. Where automation will never replace consideration. Where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com.
Tired of all the bull? Relax and enjoy the experience of buying a car at Panby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. No bull allowed.
Healthy, confident smiles begin at Stratford Orthodontics. Conveniently located on Main Street, we are Stratford's hometown orthodontist. We offer the latest in orthodontic technology, including Damon braces and Invisalign. We always accept new patients. Call today to schedule a complimentary consultation. 203-375-8332. Stratford Orthodontics, 2499 Main Street, Stratford. 203-375-8332. And online at stratfordsmile.com. Healthy.
And we're back on this Friday edition of your coffee break on the HAN network. I'm Kate Czaplinski with the latest on the situation in Fairfield. Police are saying that all threats have been cleared. Fairfield schools have been changed to a lockout mode as a precautionary measure, according to officials. No one will be allowed to enter or leave any buildings. All schools will be following the normal early closing schedules. No parents should go to the school. As you can see in the video captured by John Kovach, despite being told earlier this morning not to go to the schools, there were hundreds of cars lining the streets around Fairfield Ward that contained concerned parents. But as we're hearing now, there is no threat, but Fairfield Public Schools will be dismissing early today. That's the latest on that story. We'll bring you any other updates if they come in. And turning back to some other news today, in Shelton, roads will be closed and traffic detoured on Saturday, October 24th during the annual Wesley Village Halloween 5K road race. The race starts around 8:50 in the morning and continues through 10:30. The northbound lane of Long Hill Avenue will be closed to traffic from the entrance of Ashbury Ridge to Donovan Lane. Motorists are advised to seek alternative routes during that time period. The southbound lane of Long Hill Avenue will remain open, and traffic will be allowed to travel only southbound during that race. Well, in Ridgefield, if you pick a pumpkin Friday at the Jesse Lee Pumpkin Patch, you can support efforts to build an orphanage in Africa. Jesse Lee Memorial United Methodist Church is donating all of its proceeds from its pumpkin sales this Friday, October 23rd, toward the construction of a new orphanage in Dondo, Mozambique. The new facility will provide food, shelter, protection, and a loving home to children currently living on the street. Orphans are especially common in that area of Mozambique because of a very high HIV prevalence rate. Hours for the Jesse Lee Pumpkin Patch on Fridays normally are noon to 6. However, today sales will continue in the evening during the movies in the Pumpkin Patch. The free family event presents It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and the Veggie Tales, Where's God When I'm Scared, showing on a giant portable screen. Start time is 6:30. Each show is about 30 minutes long. Jesse Lee asked people to bring blankets to sit on instead of chairs so all can see. And there's more on that story at theridgefieldpress.com. And finally, the annual Monroe Trick or Trunk is set for Sunday, October 25th from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Massac High School parking lot. There will be trick-or-treating around the parking lot, games, hot cocoa, parade of costumes, and a pumpkin contest for preschoolers. As you can see, that was a little guy in my life at the Trick or Trunk in Monroe. The entrance fee is $5 to benefit Project Warmth. No admittance unless distributing candy. Dressing up your trunks is a plus. Well, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, Donald Ng is going to be taking a look at this week's top stories with me. That's coming up on your coffee break after this.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark Building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
Darien Sport Shop is a unique store because it's a family store. A busy mom can come in with kids in tow and find everything she needs for them, and even find a dress for herself for Saturday night. And if she's in a rush, she can simply go home and order it from us that night. We'll deliver it the next day. The Darien Sport Shop. We're pretty on the outside and amazing on the inside. Conveniently located with free and easy parking at 1127 Post Road, Darien, Connecticut. Or shop us online at dariensport.com.
Football University, the nation's leading football training experience, is now accepting applications for its 2015 camps. Our elite faculty of NFL coaches and top professionals teach position-specific on the field and in the classroom to improve your football IQ and help you reach your full potential as a player. Apply today at footballuniversity.org. Football University, where technique plus talent beats talent alone.
The fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait in the Long Island Sound. This is the time to visit the New England coast, and the Dock Shop can get you outfitted with the latest fishing gear, jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece. Boater, beach bum, fishermen simply love the New England coast. This is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
You are watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. 102,000 viewers have enjoyed the HAN Network in just the last 6 weeks. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
And we're back on this Friday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and we have been following the situation in Fairfield where schools were put on lockdown. However, officials are saying that all Fairfield schools are safe and secure. That's after they followed up on a threat that was made that they discovered had no merit. However, schools are dismissing early in Fairfield, and all afternoon and evening activities at Fairfield schools will also be canceled as a result of that. But happy to hear that everyone is safe. Donald Eng is joining me now because we're going to take a look at the top stories on all our HAN Network websites this week. Don?
We are, and kind of unusual, our top story of the week was a letter to the editor. It appeared in the Ridgefield Press, a very sad story. The letter was received from the DuPuy family, whose daughter Carrie died in a plane crash with fellow Ridgefielder Ryan Adams on September 20th. Another Ridgefield High School student, Ryan Meehan, died in an automobile crash on September 18th, and the DuPuy family essentially just reached out to the Ridgefield community, giving thanks for everyone and all the support they'd received from the community. Yeah. And so, it was very, very sad, but also something that, the community really embraced and rallied around and provided a lot of support for us. So breaking hearts, the number one story.
It is. It's very commendable that they would take the time in their grief to write a letter to the community thanking everyone and mentioning that the two other students that died, were Carrie's friends, and their hearts break for that. It was a terrible, terrible losses week for Ridgefield. Oh my goodness. On a much lighter note, our second most read story this week is actually our FCAC voting for the top male and female athletes of the week.
Right, and what Rob Adams and I do Nutmeg Sports in the afternoon, and it's very encouraging. We really like the fact that a lot of these students, a lot of these families and athletes, they've really embraced the idea of voting for the students of the week, and we give little rundowns of all the athletes. So it's really good to see these high school athletes getting recognition, and I especially like to see that a lot of them are volleyball or field hockey, things like that, because it's the fall, it's football weather, but I really like to see the volleyball players get their due on something like that.
Definitely, yeah, and we'll of course be announcing this week's winners on FCAC Tailgate. You won't be joining me, so I'll probably be announcing them, but we'll miss you. We'll miss you. Well, our third most read story this week was about John Jay High School's principal resigning. According to the Lewisboro Ledger, Superintendent Andrew Selznick notified John Jay parents that Jessica Godin, the principal, has resigned from her position on October 16th due to personal reasons. But there's a lot more on that story at lewisboroledger.com.
Right. And then our next story comes from the New Canaan Advertiser. The headline is Departing Empty Nesters, Local Economics and Job Opportunities Leading to More Homes for Sale. And that is a phenomenon we're seeing throughout Fairfield County. The for sale signs popping up here and there. The economy is not quite the depths it was in 2012, but certainly still not what you would call good. And unfortunately, there are opportunities that people need to take advantage of, and that has led to a proliferation in New Canaan, which you picture being a very stable community where people buy a house and they live there for 30 years. But a lot of for sale signs popping up in New Canaan.
Right, and of course, a big story that's been getting a lot of attention, the teacher in Stratford that allegedly had a sexual relationship with a student, starting when that student was 12 years old, allegedly, and that went on for about 3 years. Michelle Solzicki, she's 28 years old, she's been fired, and that story, of course, got a lot of attention and eyes this week. An update on that Melvin Mason put together.
Right. We go back to the Ridgefield Press for our next story, which is actually an obituary. Elizabeth Ann DeBrule Petroni passed away October 8th from pancreatic cancer. She died at home. She was actually only about 54 years old, Ridgefield High School graduate, so obviously something like that, people that kind of want to reconnect with a high school classmate. So that, our next story, Elizabeth Petroni, dying of pancreatic cancer. Her obituary was one of the top stories in our chain last week.
That happens a lot. We often get obituaries ending up in the top stories. Very sad. Another story that we talked about on Coffee Break that was in the top 10 this week was police in Stratford looking into the theft of political lawn signs. Now, this is something we hear about in all of our towns, and it kind of makes me laugh because if I'm going to make a true confession, when I was in high school, a friend's father was running for local office, and we thought it was so funny to grab all those lawn signs and take them, and then of course we gave them all back when we found out it was like a big deal. But so part of me is like,
larceny is a big deal? What? Who knew?
But part of me, well, we gave them back. But part of me is like, is this just a silly prank, or is it really like people out there wanting to get rid of this message that these political lawn signs are putting out there? I don't know.
Right, and the other thing I always think about is it's probably a silly prank because, I was going to go out and vote for a candidate in my town, but I don't see any lawn signs of his, so therefore I'm not going to vote for him.
Right, but there's two sides. Some people say those lawn signs are important. Some will tell you, it is all about name recognition though, right?
It is. And speaking of name recognition, if you live in New Canaan, you know the Saks Auditorium. First Selectman Rob Malazzi says he is supporting the Saks Auditorium. He is not recommending the full approval of the $18.6 million renovation and expansion. He did say that he and the Board of Finance are extremely comfortable moving ahead with some work on the auditorium and renovations in the rooms surrounding the auditorium. So the Saks Auditorium renovation project in New Canaan, our 9th top story of the week, getting about almost 1,000 votes, or 1,000 views.
Right, and finally, another New Canaan story. The Town Audit Committee stops its work and cites deficient controls at Town Hall and the Board of Ed in New Canaan. And I know that's something that Michael Nowacki, who's a petitioning candidate for First Selectman, talked to Josh about a lot when we did some candidate interviews this week. And he spoke with Rob Malazzi, First Selectman Rob Malazzi, about it. You can check out those interviews and their takes on it at ncadvertiser.com. Cool. All right, Don. Well, thanks so much for helping me out.
Anytime.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this Friday edition of Your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. We'll, of course, be back Monday at 11, but, check us out. Noon on Saturday, FCX Tailgate kicks off in Greenwich, so we'll see you then.